Have you ever wondered what would happen to your life's work if you suddenly weren't there anymore? What if everything you've poured your heart into, your family, your career, your dreams, had to continue without you? Well, today I want to share a story about Saint John Bosco that might change how you think about the work that you're doing right now and who it really belongs to. The Miracles and Prophecies of Saint John Bosco, a project of America Needs Fatima. I'm your host, Adrian Fonseca. Subscribe for new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Welcome to the Miracles and Prophecies of Saint John Bosco. I'm Adrian Fonseca. These videos exist to share timeless wisdom from Saint John Bosco that can transform your spiritual life today. You know, we live in a world where we're constantly told to hustle harder, work longer, and achieve more. But what if I told you there's a different way to approach your work? A way that brings incredible peace, even in the face of exhaustion or uncertainty. Today you'll discover the one thing that allowed Don Bosco to face even death with perfect peace. This same approach can transform how you handle your pressures and your worries. The year was 1847, and Don Bosco was running on empty. Picture this. You're working from dawn to dusk every single day. Young men are constantly coming to you for help, guidance, confession. You're preparing lessons, organizing activities, and making sure everyone has exactly what they need. That was Don Bosco's life. He poured everything he had into the Oratory. He decorated their simple chapel with crystal lamps and fresh flowers because he wanted these young men to experience something beautiful. He made sure they had books, medals, and everything they needed for their spiritual growth. And it was working. These weren't just any young men. These were the forgotten kids of Turin, the ones that society had written off. But under Don Bosco's care, they were transforming into honest, faithful men. However, it wasn't all work and no play, because then came the Feast of Saint John the Baptist, a huge celebration in Turin. The whole city erupted in celebration, with gunfire, bonfires, and festivities. And the boys of the Oratory thought it was Don Bosco's name day, and so they showered him with flowers and affection. And Don Bosco was so moved that he gave each of the 650 young men a booklet of meditations for Sundays and novena to St. Louis. His heart was overflowing with joy. Everything he'd worked for was finally paying off. These young men were receiving the sacraments, growing in faith, and finding their purpose. But then his body said, enough. Don Bosco collapsed. He developed life-threatening bronchitis. The doctors told him to prepare for death and even receive last rites. This man who had given everything for God's work was now facing eternity. Here's what amazes me about Don Bosco's response. He didn't panic. He didn't frantically try to arrange for someone to take over. You know what he said? He was ready to die if it was God's will, because he was convinced that the Oratory was God's work, not his own. If God wanted it to continue, God would find others to carry it on. Think about that. How many of us can honestly say that we have that kind of peace about our work, our families, our plans? Meanwhile, the young men at the Oratory weren't just sitting around feeling sorry for themselves. They prayed with everything they had. They lit candles, prayed the rosary, attended Mass, and fasted, all trusting that if it was God's will, their beloved father figure would recover. Soon, Don Bosco's own mother received news of her son's condition, and she made the journey to Turin. In what can only be called a miracle, Don Bosco's health began to improve. His strength gradually returned. The prayers of those young men, combined with Don Bosco's complete trust in God's plan, had worked a miracle. But here's the real miracle. Don Bosco had already found perfect peace before he recovered, simply because he knew that his work belonged to God. You know, as I've been sharing Don Bosco stories with you week after week, I've realized something beautiful. His mission didn't end when he died. is still alive today through people just like you who want to live with the same trust and devotion. That's exactly why our monthly promoter community exists. When you become a monthly promoter, you're not just supporting these videos, you're stepping into Don Bosco's legacy. Picture starting your morning with Don Bosco's own writings, like his Roadmap to Heaven and Sacred History. Imagine having beautiful images of Our Lady Help of Christians and Saint John Bosco in your home as daily reminders of their protection. And knowing that you're joined in prayer with thousands of others who share your devotion. As a monthly promoter, you'll receive everything you need to transform your spiritual life today. Don Bosco's exclusive books, inspiring images, and bi-monthly deliveries of Crusade magazine right to your mailbox. Plus, you'll know that a priest offers Mass for all our promoters every single day, including your personal prayer intentions. So are you ready to join our monthly promoter family? Click the link in the description box down below. Let's continue this mission together. One thing I learned today is that true peace comes when you realize your most important works belongs to God, not to you. When Don Bosco faced death, he wasn't worried about what would happen to the oratory because he knew it was God's work. And that's the kind of peace that we can all have. Whether we're parents wondering about our children's futures, employees facing some job uncertainty, or anyone really that's carrying heavy responsibility. So here's my question for you. What area of your life do you need this kind of surrender? What would change if you truly believe that your most important work, raising your children, serving your community, building your career, that it all belongs to God? And speaking and trusting in God's plan, you absolutely need to watch the video that's appearing on your screen right now about the day Don Bosco met a man claiming to be the Eternal Father. This is one of the most chilling, true stories from Don Bosco's life that demonstrates the reality of spiritual warfare and shows us what happens when people reject God's mercy. So click that video on your screen right now. Thank you for joining me today. Saint John Bosco, pray for us. May God bless you and Mary Immaculate keep you under her mantle. God love you.